Hi everybody. As you know, Emma has been working with various therapists over the past 10 years. She has worked with physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists that work on verbalization as well as eating skills, and also early intervention persons and DIR floor time therapists, to name a few. There's also recently been the start of some vision therapy that has me extremely excited. Now, the various therapists have varied their frequency of visits, and that depends on Emma's needs, as well as Emma's prognoses, as well as our own ability to foot the bill, because as you can imagine, it's pretty expensive to keep it all up. However, in the case where a child goes to a therapist once a week or once a month, which in Emma's case is true, she goes to speech therapy once every 2 weeks, and that's at our request. It used to be once every week. And she goes to early intervention once a month. Now, if we were to depend on therapy visits for her development, she would not get very far, because having interventions happen with her only once a fortnight or once a month really would not be frequent enough to see any meaningful change cumulatively. When a child has special needs, and perhaps especially when a child is brain injured, something that a child can learn from doing it 10 times may have to be done several hundred or 1,000 times to create the brain connections, the neuron connections, to help that child to develop skills to remember, to understand and to apply. So in Emma's case, doing it at one visit with a therapist really is like in one ear and out the other for her. And it is critical that we reinforce what is done in a therapy visit with dozens or hundreds of repetitions at home in a short space of time. As you can imagine, that brings several challenges with it. One, our life already is overextended in many, many ways. So how do we fit so many interventions in? Two, singing the same song 100 times in a month can become draining, can really tax the adult and the others in the family, even if the child who is receiving the intervention loves it. Three, there is not necessarily a need to do everything in the one same way. The exact same exercise with no variation can be just as boring for the child, might be painful for the child, might not spark so much interest or joy or fun. And if we could boost interest, joy, and fun for the child, for the person who helps that child with the intervention, then the chances of us doing it more often, more consistently, and wanting to do it, boosting that motivation, all of those things increase. So today I want to start what I think I want to make a regular feature on this channel, and that is focusing on how to take one activity that is done with a therapist that Emma has and turning it into a series of at-home interventions created by us at home to give Emma more opportunity to apply, to try, to enjoy, to experiment, to grow, to play, to have fun. And of course, us getting in on the act as well, so that our own experience is much more fulfilling and enjoyable. And it doesn't only feel like we are doing it by rote, like we are forced into this role. We get to actually play. We get to be creative. We get to use our creative muscle, experiment a little bit, see what her response is, tweak and try. And that changes the whole equation. This week, I'm starting with a very simple one. I asked Emma's speech therapist earlier this week to let me know a day or two in advance of the session what she would be doing, because I wanted to build a more holistic plan of activities that I would do for her over the course of several weeks to build on whatever that activity she chose would be. She sent me a simple message, and the message was, I'm going to read her a story about an octopus. And she sent me a picture of a paper plate with fingerprints all over it in color, and 8 streamers that would have been the octopus's legs. So that communication meant get your crafts, get your items in order, put them all together, because after we read the story, we will be making this craft item. Couple of challenges came up for us, and always do when we have to do crafts with them. Does not have a lot of vision. She is at the beginning stages of learning how to see. So if we take a surface and we cover it with a lot of little dots of color, that looks like chaos to Em, and she does not recognize any pattern, and she cannot enjoy what's in front of her. What we need to do is give her a single high contrast color on a contrasting background. So it can be something, and the colors that she sees right now would be white, black, red, or yellow. So we can, for example, do a white thing on a black background, black thing on a white background, a red thing on a black background, a yellow thing on a white on a black background, etc. So think about the contrast. Also think about the complexity of the shape. Don't put 5 red things on a background. Instead, put 1 bold red thing on that background, and give her the chance to learn to recognize that one thing. And over time, we can then shift from what I've read and what I'm learning from the vision therapy person, which is Kristen. Then when she recognizes this shape, 1 of this shape, we can give her 2 of this shape, or we can give her a 3D image of this shape so that she can explore it, and so on. Anyway, so making a flat 2D multicolored octopus might be fine for some children, but it's definitely not fine for Em. And we've done so many 2D crafts with them that I wanted to also do something more interesting that might spark Emma to lean into multiple senses. So I wanted to engage her sense of sight. I wanted to engage her sense of hearing. I wanted to engage her sense of touch. And so I decided what material might give me the look and the feel of an octopus's legs. And the idea of jellyfish came to mind. Okay, so jellyfish are all, you know, wavy and floaty. So I wonder if I could find something that might give me sound, the ability to make these legs that seem floaty, the ability to get some color that would contrast on a black background or a white background, the ability to give me sound when she touches it, the ability to give her a sense of texture as well when she touches it. And so the thought came up, okay, what about a plastic bag? Which it wasn't about the cost, but plastic bags cost nothing. This is a way to recycle a plastic bag. And guess what? We have 2 handles. And these handles, it's only 2, but if I cut this handle here, I get 4. 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves. And then if I split those 4 halves, I get 8 legs. And I can stuff the top of this bag with other bags, make the head of the octopus, and have the legs. And so I did that. I cut here, I split it, and this is what I ended up with. Let me show it to you. I've made adaptations, as you can hear. So here's my plastic bag. One side is all printed, and the other white side I drew 2 eyes on after I made the head. But I split those handles, and the body of the bag left 2 shorter pieces hanging down, so I decided to use the 2 shorter pieces to tie around the head to secure it. So let's take some other bags. Let's wind them up into a bowl, and let's stuff that little head. And take our body, remaining pieces of the body, and wrap around the head. So I'm doing that, and I'm knotting it in the back. So there's the head of my octopus. It's not high art, but it is fun. And then I have 8 legs. So it occurred to me, you know what? I have 8 legs. What can I do to give Emma texture? Well, the legs themselves, when she reaches out and touches them, give her a lot of crinkle sound and feeling. But I can add some more sound. So I took some bells, jingle bells, or they call them withers as well, and I threaded them onto the legs. I have more to do, some of these legs. So each of the 8 legs would have a little bell, or more than 1 bell if you want, threaded on. See, I just literally pull the leg through the bell. So you can bring this higher up on the leg if you want, and open this leg back out. And the challenge that I would have with this is that it still is on the background of all the chaotic colors, all the movement around. It's still far too distracting for him. So let me show you what happens when we take that chaotic color and movement of that background out and use a simple background. See? On a high contrast background. This is poster board. See what happens. Let me make this is half. This is what happens. And when I put this in front of Emma, up comes her hands, and she swipes at this, and the head is going to make noise. Hopefully she'll see the eyes. I'm not sure she will, but eventually one day she will. And there are those floaty little legs, so that she can reach out and touch it. So this is the first effort that we have made to give Emma an interactive piece as part of our consolidation following the reading of that story about an octopus. I can use these 8 legs to do counting with them. We can talk about textures and we can talk about sounds. We can make up our own stories, making him the character. And my plan is to make a family of octopuses, octopi. So I'm going to try silver. Why? Because children with cortical visual impairment, which is what Emma has, they see shine and the reflection of that shine more easily than a flat color. So guess what? This iridescence is going to work really well for us. So I'm going to try to make red, yellow, black, white, and this shiny silver. If I can get gold, I'll also make a gold one. And we'll have a nice family of octopi that we can make up stories about, songs about, etc. So I'll check in when we do more activities to consolidate this learning experience for her. I hope you've enjoyed this first video, and maybe you are inspired to think about other ways that you can vary the interventions you do at home, that you can increase the interventions and the interaction and involvement of your child in a way that builds you up, fills you up, as well as builds and fills them. Enjoy.